Every UFC fighter on the roster should take notes after watching UFC Seattle. You can eye poke. It is legal. There will be no repercussions. You can use it to debilitate your opponent, and you can use it to get a fight stopped. Song Yadong just won a 3-round decision in a fight that was supposed to go 5 rounds. Now, Henry Cejudo screwed himself along the way. But either way, not the ending we wanted for the main event at UFC Seattle. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card, and I'm going to recap it for you. I do believe it was a very good card. So a terrible ending to the card, but I can't really judge the card off of the ending because the prelims were absolutely insane. Main card was a really solid fight card as well. We're going to start it off with the first fight of the night. Rafael Cerqueira is absolutely dead to me. I said it before, but I mean it now. This dude is an absolute bum. Probably the worst pick I've ever had in my life. The dude literally lost the same way he did against Ibo Aslan. He had the same game plan. This dude has a BJJ black belt. Take it away. Why do you have it if you ain't going to use it? Did the same stuff that he did against Ibo Aslan. Back up against the cage. Not moving his feet. Not throwing a ton back at Bukauskas. And Bukauskas ain't good. Bukauskas don't got that much power in his shots. Gets folded in round 1. Absolute layup fight for Bukauskas. Cerqueira should be cut. Absolutely cut. Never need to see his face again. And he should just give it up. He should give up the MMA dream. Just retire right there. It's never going to get worse. It maybe could get worse, honestly. It could get worse, but it's not going to get better. So give it up to Rafael Cerqueira for looking like an absolute clown out there. Bukauskas, good win, I guess. Moving on. Ruziboev, Macanico. Ruziboev, I still think the guy is an absolute fraud. All he has is the right hand, but he did land it. He didn't land it in round 1 because Macanico really wasn't looking to engage much, and neither is Nursultan. That's the thing. The thing with Nursultan is that he doesn't really throw unless you're in his range, and all he's going to throw is that right hand. So Macanico was just kind of playing around with him, not trying to get hit by anything. Round 1, not a lot happened. Then we get into round 2, and apparently Macanico's coaches tell him that he's got to go for it. He needs to push the pace. And he goes out there trying to push the pace and gets caught with the right hand. It didn't even look like it hit that clean. And he still went down. Covered up. Didn't try to clinch. Didn't try to shoot a takedown. I don't know why. This goes for Rafael Cerqueira as well. Fighters, you gotta stop covering up when guys are throwing shots at you. If you're hurt, you can cover up for a split second, but then you gotta do something. You can't just cover up. You're wearing 4-ounce gloves. If you just cover up with 4-ounce gloves, they're gonna find a way through it, and even if they punch your fists, if you're rocked, you're still gonna take the damage. So you gotta clinch, you gotta shoot a takedown, you gotta do something to try to stall the momentum. I don't understand how fighters would just shell up. If you shell up, that means you're done. If that's the case, sure. But it looked to me like Macanico was shelling up, expecting Ruziboev to stop punching. Not gonna happen, buddy. He's looking for the KO. So you either gotta clinch, you gotta shoot a takedown, you gotta do something, move your feet, circle out. Shelling up ain't gonna do it. He shelled up. Ruziboev gets another knockout win. Absolute can crusher. I don't think Macanico is that bad, but he looked like a can. He really didn't do much in round 1, and round 2, when he tried to do something, he got KO'd. So, yeah, Ruziboev picks up another dub. Austin Vanderford, Nikolai Veretennikov. Vanderford looked good, man. He looked good. Absolutely mauled him, ragdolled him. But I don't really think Veretennikov is super high level. It's a good win for him to come into the UFC. And, he's got a little bit of a name, but most of that is because of who his wife is. But either way, solid performance. Seemed like a good guy on the mic. he pissed off Veretennikov so badly that Veretennikov went over to him and pushed him after he got his ass beat for 2 rounds. These Kazakh guys, the ego. You lose like that, you go over there and try to punch him or push him. Dude, you're a fucking loser, okay? Austin Vanderford gets it done. Absolutely screwed me out of the submission bet, whatever. TKO it is. That would have been nice. But I knew the advantage was going to be there on the ground for Vanderford. I mean, he's a solid wrestler, and Veretennikov got nothing off his back. Solid win for Vanderford. I don't really see him going too high in the welterweight division. I'm sure he's going to be a welterweight. But, he'll have some fun fights. You can give him somebody in the top 50, and he will be competitive. He's won every fight he's got out of the first round. His only losses are round 1 KOs. So you got to get on him early. Otherwise, he's going to get you down to the ground and just drag you through hell. Moving on. Ricky Simone, Javid Basharat. Absolute meme stuff from Ricky Simone. I mean, Basharat got slept into a deep slumber, like full-on REM sleep. Like the dude must sleep with his eyes open because he was sleeping and his eyes were open. So I would really be interested to see how Javid Basharat sleeps. If he's one of those weird motherfuckers that sleeps with his eyes open, if that's the case, because he was out for a while, but his eyes were still there. So Ricky Simone either just got some weird stuff in his hands where he cracked that jaw and Javid, the lights were off, but he was still keeping eye contact with something up in the ceiling. But Javid honestly looked good. He looked good until he got knocked out. I really thought he was winning the round, and I thought he was probably going to win the fight by decision because he was defending most of the takedowns from Ricky Simone. Simone was not really landing much at all, and when he was going for takedowns, he was really using a lot of energy. And I thought over the course of 3 rounds, Javid's will probably be able to get a decision here. But I did think Ricky was a live dog. I said it in my early picks. I think he hit probably his win condition, which was to get a knockout or get a finish. I didn't really see him winning a decision. And a big knockout, big bounce back win for Ricky Simone with a 3-fight losing streak in his home region, the PNW. Good for Ricky. Love to see it. Love to see the veterans get one done against the prospects here. Moving on. Mansour Abdul-Malik, Nick Klein. Dude, I don't know what the fuck was up with Mansour Abdul-Malik in round 1. This dude was given way too much respect to Nick Klein. Okay, because Nick Klein has absolutely nothing for you on the feet. And that is shown by the only thing that he really landed with significance was a spinning back elbow. It looked like to me Mansour wanted some type of highlight knockout where he's like a one-punch type of knockout because he's a massive favorite. He knows he's better than this guy. He could out-wrestle Nick Klein if he wanted to. He could get on top and go to work there. But the dude wanted some type of highlight reel one-punch knockout, and he's just not that type of striker, bro. Like, you're not that guy on the feet. You're not. So he basically walked down Nick Klein without throwing anything, trying to, wait for him to do something wrong. And in the process, he fucked himself, got hit with a spinning back elbow, and lost the round. And then comes out in round 2, and Nick Klein looks like he's tired after 1 round. Nice, dude. UFC debut. Go 5 minutes. Look, I get it. You're going up against a really tough guy here, but 5 minutes? Come on. Mansour pretty much just takes over from there, and Nick Klein takes the L. Mansour gets the round 2 TKO. Don't understand what Mansour was doing in round 1 other than the possibility of the dude wanted a highlight reel knockout, but it looked like he just respected him too much. Was waiting for a big moment. Whatever. Gets it done anyway, but I think he's good. It's just, still a little bit green. Still a little bit green, but a lot of potential. Moving on. Andre Fili taking on Melquizael Costa. Now, this is where the roasting might start to happen because Andre Fili, all that UFC experience, you're taking on a guy with, 4 UFC fights? 4 UFC fights. How many does Andre Fili have? Probably like 20-something. You can't cut off the cage. He's landed some nice kicks. Costa does have some really nice kicks, and I did expect that to be very effective for him here. And then, Fili's catching him with some stuff. Every time Costa threw with his hands, it was pretty clear like Fili's a much better striker with his hands. But at kicking range, Costa feels comfortable there. Fili goes for the takedown at the end of round 1, maybe trying to steal the round. Fairly competitive striking exchanges. I know the numbers will kind of lie to you because Costa's landing these little touch kicks to like the knee. Both guys were landing some decent body kicks. But to the head, Costa didn't really hit Fili to the head at all. Fili goes for the takedown, maybe to try to steal the end of round 1. Melky immediately goes for the guillotine. Melky ends up on his back. Andre Fili clears the guillotine. He's out of the guillotine. What does he do? He tries to readjust. Instead of, putting the forehead on the chest, trying to get that pressure down, he sticks it right under the armpit of Melky Costa. This dude just tried to guillotine you when you took him down. You cleared it, and now you're putting your head into the armpit of Costa. Is this where we're at? We're for fight IQ. Is this really where we're at? Where a guy can get out of a submission and then put himself back into the same submission that he just got himself out of. That's the level we're at for a UFC veteran. Like, we have hit all-time lows in fight IQ. I don't understand what's happening to these fighters. Are they selling the fights? Like, are they getting paid to lose now? Like, what are we doing? I don't understand it. Costa gets the round 1 guillotine. Did make a nice adjustment. And, maybe Fili just didn't feel the danger until it was too late. Because Costa did make a nice adjustment through the leg over from half guard. And he must have a nice squeeze. Hopefully it's nicer than that tattoo on his chest. That is disgusting. But either way, Costa gets it done. And we move on to the feature prelim. Iwan Cutelaba, Ibo Aslan. After the Cerqueira fight, I was looking at Iwan Cutelaba, and if you've watched anything over the past week of me talking about this fight, I'm like, dude, I really want to bet Cutelaba, but I just can't trust him. And then I watched Cerqueira lose the same way he did to Ibo against Modestas Bukauskas, who's trash. And I'm like, bro, I have to bet Iwan Cutelaba here. So I threw a little something on him late, because if Ibo's knocking out Cerqueira like that doesn't tell me anything. Okay, and I know Ibo's a round 1 K or a bust kind of guy, but I just really couldn't trust Cutelaba to stay away from those big hook exchanges. And he didn't. He didn't stay away from those big hook exchanges where they're just standing in the pocket, throwing these big overhand rights and left hooks. But the thing he did do was mix in the takedown. That's all he needed to do. That's all he needed to do to beat this guy. I never thought Ibo Aslan was that good, and I never really trust Iwan Cutelaba. But all he needed to do was mix in the grappling. Good for him, he did. There's some fight. If there's one guy in the UFC I wouldn't expect to have some fight IQ, it would be Iwan Cutelaba. But he had it. You look what happens when you actually think about the fight, right? Maybe I should take this guy Ibo Aslan down, whose only loss in his entire professional record is by submission. Maybe I should take this guy down. And Iwan Cutelaba, let's go. Props to you, brother. You took him down, you got on top, and you got the submission. Now, this dude never goes for submissions, but, if your opponent's only loss is by submission, maybe you want to test that out. He tested it out. He got it done. Fighters take notes. Rarely would I say to ever take notes of an Iwan Cutelaba game plan, but it actually worked out. Cutelaba gets it done. Aslan, he's just not a good grappler. He's got decent entry-level takedown defense, but when he's on the ground, he's a liability. And I was pretty certain that was going to be the case, but I just couldn't trust Ion Cutelaba. But I should have trusted him because he had some fight IQ. Cutelaba gets it done. Shout out to him for having a fucking brain. Alonzo Menifield, Julius Walker. I guess a lot of people think Julius Walker won this fight. To be honest, I think Menifield won rounds 2 and 3. After round 1, I don't really think Julius Walker was winning a lot of the exchanges, to be honest. I mean, all the takedowns that he went for pretty much got stuffed. I think he might have got one, but it wasn't effective at all. He was missing a lot of takedowns. Menifield would have these short bursts of like hit you with 2 to 3 punches. They look pretty clean, and then he's so tired that he couldn't follow up on any of that. But Julius Walker's kind of falling all over the place. Menifield's getting hit with these body kicks. Very close fight. Julius Walker, though, I mean, the dude is freaking huge for light heavyweight. He made Alonzo Menifield look like a midget out there, and Menifield is not like a small guy. So Julius Walker, big frame. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I thought this was super early for him to be in the UFC watching his regional tape. And, you know, you got to give him some lower level guys that he could beat, still try to build him up because he's got potential, man. He's got a lot of athleticism. His overall skill set is decent right now. Like, he doesn't really have, I would say his striking is a pretty big weakness, but it didn't look too bad in round 1 when he was fresh. But after round 1, you know, he's getting hit with a lot. Striking defense wasn't good. He was landing a lot of kicks, which is pretty much just due to him being taller and longer than Menifield. He could just reach him out there, and Alonzo couldn't reach him. Menifield, this is a dude that you should be beating, man. This is a dude that you should be beating. 6 fights in his professional career, UFC debut. Like, you should probably be finishing Julius Walker. So that tells you where Alonzo Menifield is at. Overall, I mean, decent fight for 2 guys that were gassed after round 1. Again, UFC fighters gassed after round 1, but they did expend a lot of energy. I mean, Julius Walker was going for those takedowns hard. I don't think he had ever been 15 minutes before. He had been out of round 1 before. So, good to see he could go 15 minutes at least. Moving on. John Silva taking on Melsik Bagdasaryan. Another masterclass from Gian Silva. And it was a masterclass because of the finish. But the thing is with Gian Silva is he's not going to wow you until he does. That's the beauty in his style, is like, he's not going to go out there just smashing low kicks, popping jabs, hitting 1-2s, ripping to the body. Like, the guy is just going to lull you to sleep, dap you up, work around, cut some angles, land a nice left hook, go back, move around, feint, right hand. And then when he hits you, this dude is a fucking tank at 145. Melsik, solid kickboxer. He is like 33, but a real striker. Like, Melsik is a real striker. And John Silva just put the dude on his ass, looked at him, and said to the ref, like, yo, you're going to stop this? Says, nah, and just elbows the shit out of his ribs. I mean, John really doesn't want to hurt guys. He wants to fucking KO him, but he don't want to hurt him. Because he dropped Melsik, let the ref have a chance to step in, and he could have just went hard on the head, but he went to the body. Respectful dude, respect. John Silva is the real fucking deal, dude. And honestly, they got to give him a ranked opponent. If they don't give him a ranked opponent next, like, what are you doing? The iron is hot. Round 1 KO against a real striker. Didn't even care to look for a takedown, which was his clear path. Fight IQ, you know, if you're not going to use the clear path to a victory, you at least got to go out there and dominate in the path that you chose. That's at least what you got to do. Because there's a clear path where Gian Silva could have just grappled him up. Melsik's got no type of grappling. But he just went out there and struck with him. And if you're going to do that, then you got to get a round 1 KO. You got to make it look clean. And then he did. Clean performances across the board. What type of weaknesses does this guy have? I would say maybe low volume. But the thing is, you can't put up high volume on the guy because he's an elite counter striker. If you're throwing high volume, he's going to counter you. He's built like a fucking ox at 145. He's fast as shit, hits hard as shit. I think he has a decent ground game. I don't know, maybe you test him with some type of grappler, see what his grappling is like, and then you give him a ranked opponent. But honestly, I'd just say give him a ranked opponent now. He called out Bryce Mitchell. Make it. I'm about it. Give him Bryce Mitchell. That works for me. There's a grappler for you inside the top 15. John Silva would probably knock his blocks off like Topuria did. In all reality, I think that's probably what happens. I think John Silva does what Topuria did to him. Absolutely hit him with big combinations. And if Bryce tries to wrestle him, he would just outmuscle him. So John Silva's the real fucking deal, boys. Moving on. Rob Font taking on Gene Matsumoto. This was another very close fight. Round 1, I do think there's a solid argument for Rob Font in round 1. If you watch that fight, there's a solid argument for round 1 for Rob Font. Like, the dude was landing some really good shots. Outstruck him in round 1, like 21-7. He got taken down a couple times, but Matsumoto really didn't do much with him. He landed a few shots towards the end, but they weren't super significant. Rob Font wasn't hurt by any of it. I think there's a real argument to be made, and it was made by the judges for Rob Font in round 1. Round 2, Gene Matsumoto. Round 3, clear Rob Font for me. Cut him open with the elbow, pushing the pace, stuffing takedowns. Matsumoto's tired. Rob Font jabbing him up, throwing the right hand, ripping to the body. I think that was a clear round 3 for Rob Font. So I think it could have went 29-28 either way. Comes down to round 1 in my opinion, but it was a very close fight, and I do think they gave it to the rightful winner in Rob Font. Some people might disagree with me in the comments, but you probably bet Gene Matsumoto, and honestly, it looked like a 50-50 fight. You know, I think maybe if Gene had a full camp, a little bit better cardio, maybe he probably could have won the fight. But his wrestling looked decent. Rob Font's not a guy that is tough to take down. Rob stayed safe for the most part. Did get held down for too long against Gene Matsumoto. But Gene is a really solid grappler. I just thought, Rob Font's striking in this fight would serve him well because Gene is very hittable on the feet. And he's not super effective off the back foot. And Rob Font loves to be on the front foot. So Rob Font gets it done. Sucks to see another undefeated guy lose their undefeated record. But it was a big spot for Gene. Could have made it bigger if he got the win. Did not. Rob Font, 2-fight winning streak at 38 years of age or whatever he is. Is he back? I don't know. Brendan Allen, Anthony Hernandez went pretty much exactly how I expected it to go. Brendan Allen got the cardio in the first. Probably going to be able to out-grapple Hernandez in some certain situations, out-scramble him, get on top, look for some subs, maybe land some ground and pound. But then in round 2, that's when Fluffy gets going. And if this was a 5-round fight, I'd probably expect Anthony Hernandez to have a lot of success in round 4 and 5 and maybe find a finish. But it probably should have been a 5-rounder. But either way, 3-rounder, Anthony Hernandez gets it done. Was a little bit scared in that first round when Allen was looking for that rear naked choke. He was landing some big shots on top. I was like, oh shit. But it was expected. Round 2, Fluffy comes out. Allen landed that head kick at the start. I was like, what the fuck? Hernandez caught it after it hit him in the head, and Allen nearly took his back. That was nuts. But Fluffy Hernandez, for a grappling type of style, still somewhat exciting. Like, he's a Merab Dvalishvili with submissions and heavy ground and pound. Not as much stand-up. Not that Merab has good stand-up, but it's effective in some way. But he has submissions and he has ground and pound. This is the decision for Hernandez, but he's a guy that usually finishes his fights. So Hernandez is a problem at middleweight. He's a real problem. The thing is like, sometimes he looks terrible. Like, when he's in bad spots on the feet, he looks bad. But then also, he looks amazing at times. Like when he's downhill and you're breathing heavy, he looks unbeatable. I need to see him against like even like a cannoneer, honestly. Like I want to see him against a real veteran that has solid cardio, that's strong. Like Brendan Allen, veteran, but not always the best cardio. Kind of relies on getting some finishes. Decent striking, really solid grappler, but, you know, the cardio does fail him. Hernandez is a real problem at 185, and I'm sure he will be looking at a top 7 opponent. A cannoneer, maybe the winner of Vittori Delidze, something like that. It's looking good, boys. It's looking good for Anthony Hernandez. He's a real problem. Let's move on to the main event, which just gets absolutely disgusting. So from the fight perspective, I thought Song won round 1, outlanded him. Cejudo's kind of trying to make reads. We get into round 2. Cejudo starting to look a little bit better, but then, you know, the leg kicks start adding up. Cejudo lands a leg kick on Song where, you know, his leg kind of gave out for a second. I was like, oh shit, did he just like fuck his leg up where it's just going to be gone? Song recovers. Leg kicks really start getting to Cejudo. Both guys were just killing each other's legs. And Cejudo switches to southpaw. And he's in the southpaw stance. And then he actually starts having more success. He's jabbing him up. He's landing the left hand. Then we get into round 3. Cejudo's starting to gain some momentum. He's really gaining some momentum with the southpaw stance. Jabbing him up, landing some nice combinations. And then boom, eye poke. Which is actually after the nut shot. Was it a nut shot? But the eye poke, nasty eye poke, double eye poke. Take your 5 minutes, Henry. And he's like blinking it out. Like eyes are pretty wide. He's not like swelled up at all. Like it's obviously some type of vision issue. It's not a swelling issue. It's an eye poke. It's an illegal move. But apparently it's legal in the UFC now because nothing's ever done about it. Double eye poke. Cejudo takes his 5 minutes, takes every single second of it. He tells Herzog that he's good to go. He can't really see, but he's good to go. He still wants to fight. There's like a minute 30 left. Cejudo's pretty much just running around the cage the entire time, not engaging in anything. Song's walking him down, probably trying to take advantage of the situation. He's probably like, you know, Henry probably can't see right now. So he's trying to take advantage of the situation. But Cejudo avoids, go to the corners, and Cejudo's just telling his corner like he can't fucking see. And eventually, that stuff gets relayed to Jason Herzog. They bring the doctor in there, and the doctor is like, he tells the doctor he can't see. Well, if you tell the doctor you can't see, they're going to call it. So then Herzog says, I'm going to start round 4 and then end it right away. And we're going to go to the judges' scorecards because the fight has gone at least halfway through what it was scheduled for. And we're going to end the fight there. Now tell me why that's the case. If that, to me, from what I understand, that's the case because Cejudo kept fighting. So if Cejudo said after the 5 minutes that he couldn't see and he couldn't go anymore, is that still what would have happened? Like, do they still stop the fight there and go to a decision? I kind of think yes, because half the fight had taken place. So I don't know if Cejudo fucked himself in that way to where if he didn't run around for that 90 seconds at the end of round 3, would it have been a no contest? I think it probably should have been a no contest either way, because this is a 5-round fight. This isn't a 3-round fight where there's 90 seconds left in round 3 and the eye poke happens and you can judge majority of the fight. You know, what's really going to happen in 90 seconds. There's still 2 full rounds. There's still 2 full rounds, 10 whole minutes. 10 whole minutes of the fight. And Cejudo was actually looking pretty good in round 3. Actually getting some momentum. Song Yadong is bleeding out of his ears, bleeding out of his cheek. His eyes are kind of swollen. Cejudo's 38. He's 38. Like, I know he didn't, I don't want to say he wanted out. He said he couldn't see, so you have to stop the fight, but that should be a no contest. It should be a no contest. It shouldn't, make Henry Cejudo take a step backwards, and it shouldn't make Song Yadong take a step forward because he won the fight by decision based off of an illegal move. An illegal move. The fight gets stopped based off of an illegal move. There's still 2 rounds in the fight. No point was taken either. What are we doing? If the fight gets stopped from an illegal move, automatically a point should be deducted in that round. It should. And 2 of the judges had it 29-28 for Henry Cejudo. So if a point gets deducted there, it's a draw. It's a draw. It's a majority draw based on 2 28-28s and a 29-27. One of the judges had it 30-27 for Song Yadong. There's no way that this should be the outcome. I don't know where it is in the rule book. Maybe Herzog had it correct. If that is in the rule book, it should be changed. There's no way this should have played out this way. If it's a 5-round fight, you can't stop it after 3 rounds. Because a lot of guys in a 5-round fight, they're not going to push too hard in the first round. They're probably not going to push too hard in the second round. Henry Cejudo, champion, double champion, been around for a long time, taking on a young guy. Probably doesn't want to blow his load in the first couple rounds. Probably wants to feel him out and try to take over late with his experience. And I didn't even have a bet on Henry Cejudo or Song Yadong. I'm not biased in this one. Okay, I actually did pick Song Yadong to win the fight, but I don't think he should have won the fight. It's a decision that means nothing. But at the end of the day, Song Yadong gets the win and Cejudo takes a loss. He couldn't see because he got eye poked. Nothing was done. There's no point taken. At the end of the day, he gets eye poked. He says he can't see. They stop the fight. They give him the L. They give Song Yadong the win. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that if the guy that acted out the illegal move is the one going away with the win. I think it probably should have just been a no contest. You call it a no contest and you move along. Maybe you make the rematch down the line. But for this to be the outcome it's ridiculous. Whether it was the right thing to do from Herzog based on the rules, if it was, okay. But if it was, it should not be that way. If it wasn't, then there's some real problems with that. If that's not how it should have been handled in a 5-round fight. I've never seen it in a 5-round fight. We've seen it in 3-round fights before where, a foul happens in round 3 and they just score the round based up off to that. There's a couple fights that I can remember. Bruno Silva, Chris Weidman, the eye poke KO. Again, they didn't take a point for that. Like, the dude literally double eye poked him into a KO. And they didn't take a point in round 3. Romanov versus Juan Espino. Romanov, clearly wanted a way out in round 3. Gets nutshotted, says he can't go. They go to the scorecards. Romanov gets the dub. It's a really fucking stupid thing in UFC where that is a thing, but it's even more asinine in a 5-round fight that you could just stop it after 3 rounds, and that's it. Very stupid. But either way, that's the recap for you. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video for me. We'll be back here with the Apex card next week. Gotta love those. Hey, John Picks, we out.